It all begins tomorrow, and let me tell you, this season is going to be a true test for if this Blues team is able to sustain itself or if it completely needs to be rebuilt.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about the St. Louis Blues. Today on Locked On Blues, I am going to talk to you about the Blues in Chicago game, which was the Blues' last preseason game that took place this weekend. There are some cuts that I'm a little bit upset about, and I will dive into a player that I truly believed would make the final roster. And then finally, the season starts tomorrow, which means that every single game from here on out counts. The points will count. Going to overtime will count. So this is going to be one of the craziest seasons because this season will truly determine if the Blues are a good team but just had a bad season last season, or if they completely just need to rebuild. Before I continue, two things. One, I'm in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, and it's kind of freaking me out a little bit because I'm like, okay, this is not my normal setup. And two, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. The St. Louis Blues have my heart. And when I'm diving into this, I just want to let you know, off the bat, I work at a radio station based out in Philadelphia, but this weekend I could not help myself, and I just began talking about the Blues because I love the Blues. And when it comes to Chicago, I cannot stand the Blackhawks, and I just felt very I don't know, like passionate when the game was going on, and the Blues beat the Blackhawks 5-3, by the way. So that just pushed me over the edge. It gave me some excitement, and I was like, you know what? I love those St. Louis Blues. Coach Berube, one of my favorite coaches in the league, and it's true. You know, Braden Shen was just named captain. Like, I went on, and I'm like, wait, I hope the people in like Philly don't hate me. But it was a huge win on Saturday for the St. Louis Blues defeating the Blackhawks, as I stated, 5-3. And yes, hail preseason, come on now. But I don't care if it's preseason. I am still going to be completely excited about beating Chicago no matter what, especially after everything that the Blues went through with their prospect training games or whatever that showcase was. It was kind of stupid, but I just really have high expectations for the St. Louis Blues this season, higher than I think most people do for this team. I just see a lot of potential within them. But just to give you a little bit of a recap of this exciting game that St. Louis crushed Chicago in, Nikita Alexandrov got the first goal of the game. It was actually a power play goal assisted by Berzuzo and Pernich. And then Robert Thomas, it's Robert Thomas season, scored a goal making it 2-0, and it was assisted by Jordan Kyrou and Bush. And then for the Blackhawks, unfortunately, Lucas Rachel got a goal, and then he cut down the score to 2-1, but the Blues took care of business when Mackenzie McEachern scored another goal for the Blues, making it 3-1. Then RT got a goal, making it 4-1. And yes, you heard that correctly. That is Robert Thomas's second goal of the game. But the interesting thing was it was assisted by Jordan Kyrou and Bush, and it's the exact same that happened in the first period, which I think is super cool. Unfortunately, Chicago was able to kind of be a little bit sneaky with Joey Anderson getting a goal. So he cut the deficit in half. And then Mackenzie Entwistle got another goal, making it 4-3. But the St. Louis Blues said, you know what? Bleep you. And Jake Neighbors was able to solidify the game with a 5-3 victory. So I am super impressed with how the Blues played, considering the fact that Chicago did significantly better with the faceoffs. Um, they had more hits on the Blues. Chicago, if you watch the game, you would think that the Blackhawks would have been the team that was winning, but the Blues, they were just so dominant offensively. And I think that is truly the most important thing for the Blues, is to insert their offensive dominance, because we know the defense is not going to do that. And I hate to sound negative. I hate to sound like I'm completely, turning my head to the defense and I'm not going to give them any grace this season. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest factor for me with the St. Louis Blues is utilize that offense, play hard, and you will see results. The results may not be results that, I like, that you like, but they're going to be results that 100% um, will be beneficial. I also think that in the game, one thing that kind of surprised me was Robert Thomas, and he always surprises me. I'm a huge Robert Thomas fan, um, and I have always been a Robert Thomas fan since the Blues drafted him, but he's that one player that, as I told you, he's always, progressing. He's always on the come up, and I just think that the St. Louis Blues are so lucky to have him, and he just played that game like a stud. He was out on the ice, taking complete control over everything, and I think that's the most important thing for the Blues, is that they're just out here working hard, and that to me has been very important. So for the St. Louis Blues, I would say that that is a successful game. And I don't know if there's any more critique I would have. I don't know if there's any hard feelings about. It's difficult, right? Because I could criticize it, but at the end of the day, um I I just feel like the regular season will be the true test. And until then, we will see. But I will be cautiously optimistic. That is one thing about this season, is that I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. But the Blues did really well this preseason, and I am impressed. I will give them that. Usually preseason doesn't impress me with anything, because I'm like, oh, it's preseason, it doesn't count. But I think this preseason was a little bit different, because the Blues now, they know what they need to do. And they just played really hard against the Blackhawks. And it's all, and one last thing I will make on that. Chicago sucks. Okay? Everything about the Blackhawks sucks. I can't stand them. My least favorite team in the Central, my least favorite team in the NHL, if I'm going to be completely blunt, hate Chicago. I think the reason why that win felt so good, even though it was preseason, was because they embarrassed the Blues. I mean, with Connor Bedard in that rookie prospect game getting a hat trick, it was embarrassing, okay? And it just, all the clips that ESPN put out were of that game. And I'm thinking to myself, people are going to think that the Blues are a joke. So it was nice being able to take back that control and being able to say, you know what, the Blues are not a joke. The Blues, they're still on the up and up, right? They got some things to work on. But at the end of the day, this is a team that is working extremely hard to be a successful team. And this is a team that, yeah, they may not be the best, but don't disrespect them. And that's it. So, with that rant of mine being over, I am going to tell you about something that I am excited about. The NHL season is finally here. Will the Vegas Golden Knights reign supreme again? I love the NHL, and I know you do too. That's why I want to tell you about Sleeper. That's okay. Sleeper is my go to platform for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you have the chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. Okay, that is amazing. The NHL has never been more exciting, and that's why now, with star players to watch like a McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby, Robert Thomas, Braden Shen, Justin Folk, Sleeper will let you find all their stats, such as goals, assists, points, saves, and more. And yes, you heard me. It offers 100 times the payouts. So start paying attention and make the right picks, and you could win big, just like the Blues won big against the Blackhawks. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you will get up to, again, $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's term of use for details. Okay. I'm upset. And I told myself I wasn't going to be upset. I told myself that I'm sorry about the sliding if it's a problem, but it's only for a good day. I had to visit the family. I'm upset about some players that were sent down to the AHL. And listen, I know they always have the opportunity or possibility of coming up again. I I just okay, honestly, I'm just mad about one player in particular. So, players that are assigned to go to the Springfield Thunderbirds include Zachary Bolduc, Zach Dean, Mateus Laferre, and Matthew Kessel. I wonder who you think I'm the most upset about. Was there one player that I had a long pause after, and then I kind of made a facial expression that looked a little bit mad? It was Zach Dean, if you couldn't pick up on that cue. I I am such a big fan of Mr. Zachary Dean. And, he was drafted 30th overall in the 2021 draft by the Vegas Golden Knights, and he came here with trades going on. I am so mad about this. I thought for sure that Zach would make the final roster. I know he's a center, and I know that there is, Kevin Hayes and Sonny back. But for some reason, I was thinking to myself, maybe there is a possibility. Maybe. And I know the Blues want to get younger. He's only 20 years old and he has so much that he can offer. But I just thought, for some reason, it might be my deluded mind that they would somehow make it work for him. But I know that he still needs to develop. I'm just such a huge Zach Dean fan. And it's such a steal, honestly, for the St. Louis Blues in getting him because 30th overall, that is really good. And he is a player that, you know, in the future, and I hate to say this, but like one day when Shenny isn't here, when Hayes is gone, when Sonny isn't here, you're going to have a Robert Thomas line. You're going to have a Zach Dean line. Like, it's going to be good. I just, I always root for the younger guys because I know that this is, their big break, and I know how hard that they work because they're already coming in with the disadvantage of being so young and needing some more experience. But again, you have guys like Connor Bedard that can just walk on a team and make it right away. Granted, I know that he is really good. I'm just saying that I was rooting for Zach Dean, but again, it is okay. I was upset. I'm going to be a little upset, but you never know. And I don't wish injury on anybody. So I'm going to knock on my non wooden bed frame. But there's always possibilities, if there's sickness, like there's so many reasons players miss games. So I'm sure, I'm not hoping, but I'm sure that this season he will get a chance to come up and play for the Blues. But again, play for the AHL affiliate team, the Springfield Thunderbirds. Show them what you got, okay? This is huge for a guy like Zach Dean. Just keep on proving why you deserve a final roster spot, and you could potentially get it. I really wish nothing but the best for him. I thought he had such a good training camp. I was really impressed. And I've said that too here on Locked On Blues, that he is somebody that impressed me. He is somebody that worked hard. And when somebody works hard, sometimes you just can't say anything negative in a sense, because hard work, like, it earns respect. So the St. Louis Blues also sent an additional 4 players down to the Springfield Thunderbirds, and that included forwards Mackenzie McEachern, Nathan Walker, and I like Nathan Walker. Defenseman Kale Rosen, I know, I was rooting for Kale too, and goaltender Malcolm Subban. I like these guys. I feel badly, right? Because I there's some players, and I could be a little bit critical, but I'm not gonna, because I'm sure it sucks. But there's some players where I can understand why they get sent down. But it just sucks. Like, you're coming this close to the end, and here you are. And for a guy like Malcolm Subban, 29 years old, he's definitely been around the league for quite a little while. Um, And for those that don't know about Malcolm Subban, he was on the Bruins in 2014, and then he was on them again in 2016, 2017. Yeah, he only played like one game each season, but I mean, still, oh my God, that's pretty cool. Um, but most notably, he was also on the Golden Knights during their 2017-2018 season, and he played 22 games that season, winning 13 and only losing 4 and 2 in OT. So that was pretty good. And then roughly the same the following year. I mean, with the Golden Knights, he really just was so consistent. And then he ended up going to the Blackhawks, and then last season he was with the Sabres. So he's not a goalie that you would consider a starting goalie by any means, but he is a solid backup or a third goalie just to have. And um, a guy like him, you got to respect that he's been around the league. But we all knew going into the season it was going to be Benner and Joel Hofer, so I'm not surprised, and that's the thing. And I doubt he's surprised, but it still sucks for kids like Nathan Wall. And I say kids, like these are adults. But but it's still, it sucks. And you just, you want everyone to make it, but there is a roster, and you have to just, it is what it is. And yeah. So it sucks. It is what it is. Oh well. All right. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. The season begins tomorrow. Like, I don't know how else to state it. Like, the season begins tomorrow. What begins tomorrow? The NHL season. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, Neil, you do. Yeah. So, woo, hockey is back, baby, and I cannot wait. So tomorrow's slate of games include, and there is one game that's being pushed way too much, which is kind of annoying me, but it is going to be the Predators and the Lightning, the Blackhawks and Penguins, and the Kraken and Golden Knights. I personally want to see the Penguins rock the Blackhawks because I'm telling you, this team is more fraudulent than you think. They might have had, good social media videos put out of their players, like an okay preseason, blah, blah, blah. But this team is fraudulent. They're not going to be that good. I'm sorry, but the Blackhawks present themselves as a cup contending team when in reality, they're the least from it. Yeah, you have a couple good players, but Connor Bedard, and I'm not knocking the kid because I am happy for him, and I would have loved if we had him, but he has yet to play an NHL game. And you're going to be going against a very talented Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Malkin. Like, you have so many talented players on that team. And if you think for 1 second that this is going to be an easy win when it may not be, you're kidding yourselves. So I will be watching that in hopes that the Blackhawks get rocked and they get humbled. I do like my friends that locked on Blackhawks. So. But, like, seriously, like, I'm so sick of the NHL being, like, obsessed with Chicago. Like, cut it out. Wednesday's games, honestly, I don't really care about because I'm more focused on the 12th, which is when we, St. Louis, are taking on the Dallas Stars in Dallas for our season opener. So I am so ready for that. I think it's going to be a super exhilarating, see what I did? Exhilarating season. And then just so you know, our home opener is Saturday the 14th, so this Saturday. And we're obviously at Enterprise. So it will be a good hockey week again. It's crazy to me. When I began doing Locked On Blues, it was as soon as the regular, no, not the regular, it was as soon as the NHL season came to an end. And I believe it was a couple days before the Golden Knights won the cup. I'm not sure. I forget. But I was able to do finally, like, on this podcast, I did a We Went Blues Day as like my first episode. And I was able to talk to you about the draft and obviously the summer and expectations and giving scenarios and going through all the craziness of what this NHL season would be for the Blues. And obviously, preseason was a little bit of a taste of what games are like doing this podcast. But now I am able to truly talk to you about the season. And I think that this will be, for me at least, the most exciting part about doing this podcast because let's face it, the summer sucks, okay? I know. I get my fix of hockey when I would do this podcast in the summer, trust me on that. But you just want that NHL action. And I feel like now I am able to provide you with what I love, which is the regular season. So, with that being said, St. Louis, I cannot wait for the 12th. And hopefully, the Blues come to Enterprise being 1-0 this season with 2 points because I don't want any overtime points with a loss. I want 2 points. I want to win. I'm going to be greedy. Yeah, that's going to be a difficult game because I do think the Stars are very good. But I also think the Blues are better than most people expected them to be. From what I've seen in preseason, I'm not saying that the Blues are the best team. I'm not saying that from just what I have observed with some preseason hockey. All right, St. Louis, how I end every single episode. Let's go Blues.